That's what happened here. So I get my higher low.
All right, good afternoon, everybody.
Let's see what this high was.
Bunch of earnings coming out right now.
This high here broke it.
So let's do the disclosure so we can take a look at some of these earnings things that are coming out. I'm an associate member of T3 Trading Group, SEC registered broker dealer, member of
higher low, and this day broke this high.
All trades are placed through T3 Trading Group. You should carefully consider whether trading is suitable for you and your own financial condition.
Here are the stocks in the process of reversal.
Position,
I have a pivot low. The
disclosure
ADMA
is
situation is very
unchanged.
simple because it's beneath it, right? And
Position
I get
size
the high. So only at
less.
this point on this day
Is unchanged.
should I raise my stop to
All right, so what do we got going on here after hours? Paramount's a big winner.
Extended from its
Paramount's up
equilibrium area.
21%.
Pulls back to it. So here's my next high, here's my next low. Okay, so the pivot is, this is the deeper pivot, right? So again, it's
We have Paramount Square.
So rule number 2 is satisfied right away.
Solid. It's right after
Rule
Disney
number
Sports on
1, here's my
PayPal. These
pivot
stocks are
point.
so beaten up.
Rule number 3 is the one I
Square
gotta wait on. I
Q3,
need a new high to come in. If I was trailing on a daily
55
chart,
cents
that new
versus
high only comes
44%
in.
expected.
Whatever this is,
Revenue
5 days
is
later,
5.62 billion
I can
versus
now raise my
5.1
stop.
billion.
You can do this on any
They
time frame, right? I'm just
raised
talking about
fiscal
this
year
daily chart right
20
here
as
because it's
EBITDA.
easy for the purpose of this webinar.
And
But
adjusted
you could
operating.
trail on a 5-minute chart. You could trail on a 15-minute chart.
So that's
or,
pretty good.
you know, day trades.
Pretty good report from Square. Up
I'm not even
17%
sure
here
what
after
it looks like on the
hours.
5-minute chart today.
After
because
a
I
decent
haven't
move from
traded it
PayPal
actively.
yesterday.
But you know, if you were long somehow
Well,
off the open or whatever,
Expedia is one of our winners here after hours. $5 billion buyback announced. I love a good buyback.
The
Everybody knows I love a good buyback.
Rule 1 and Rule 2 both getting
Expedia
satisfied
report is
here.
huge.
Still can't raise my
EPS
stop. Here's the new high to raise my
$5.41.
stop. Pulls back
Beating
again,
consensus
right? My stop is still here.
pretty
Pulls back
decently.
again into equilibrium area.
Revenues
Here's
are
the
nice to
pivot.
beat.
Rule 1, Rule 2. New high is hit. Rule 3 is satisfied. On this
On the
bar
downside,
here, I
right,
can raise my
you
stop.
get smoked.
Kind of grinding higher. You know, it depends how tight you want to trail it.
What's
You
going on with
could
this thing?
raise your stop to this pivot here, right? Because it is a pivot, it is an
I don't see any
ADMA, it
numbers
does make a new
associated
high.
with the
I would argue that's a
NNT.
little bit tight. You're probably going to get stopped out, even though you
Nasty.
didn't. You probably will. It's very tight.
Nasty,
And then you get
nasty.
continuation, and then you could just be doing that on a 5-minute chart until eventually it stops you in. You don't know, stops you out. You don't know how long this thing would possibly go until the stop out
Loss
actually
is 17 cents versus
Um,
20 cent
So, you know, I
expected
mean, there's
loss.
countless examples. You know,
Revenue
just
missed
to
by
bring
a
up
little bit.
AMD real quick with that Rule 2, I just want to talk about. So AMD,
Yeah, Square
I love,
really solid.
you know, I don't have a position in it right now. I bought it the last couple
We
days
are
down in the
waiting on
$80
Apple.
area for day trades. That was,
So
that
that's
was
the
okay.
big event.
Money.
Apple reports at 4:30. Square announced $1 billion stock buyback.
Relatively
Love
strong
it.
stock.
Love a good buyback.
Bullish on for a while.
Yeah, Apple at 4:30.
His name,
The
if
big
not
big
bigger
event.
in some ways,
The
known
real
as
big
the
event. We're gonna
market,
get Apple to move the entire market.
right? So let's say
Um,
that you were long, you know, and
Traditionally
from
on
wherever
Apple
I just want to
earnings
get
day,
across the point of this rule number
I
2.
would not do an
You
afternoon
can look at
meeting.
this
There was a
thing,
weird period of
go,
time
okay,
there where a
you
bunch
know,
of quarters we were
my
having
stop
like
loss
Apple,
is down
Amazon,
here or
Google,
down
all
here
reporting on
because
the
the last
same
pivot
day. And
broke up a
I
lot.
did not like
You know,
that. I
stock
think it was
tipping
last
$8
quarter for the first time
My
Apple
stop
seems
loss
to
is
change
maybe
their day a little
still,
bit,
you know,
and they
down
come
here
in
on
a
one of
week
these tighter
after.
pivots.
All
I don't want to
those-
give this
all
thing
those
back
other
$10
names,
and
and I
like
like that much
20%.
better, so we can just
I don't want to
focus
give
on
back
them
that much
as they
potential
come
profit.
out.
I want to be able to raise my stop.
So
You
Jones.
kind of can't yet if you're
Good
really
night.
following those rules on this time.
So we're waiting on Apple, so we'll just do like an abbreviated 15-minute afternoon meeting today. We'll hold off on the Q&A.
Right,
We
so if
won't
it's a
do our
5-minute
normal
chart,
Q&A
it's going to be
today.
much tighter. It's a 15-minute chart, it's going to be a little bit
15-minute
looser.
afternoon
It's
meeting
going
right
to be
here,
more to make
and
a
then
little
we'll
bit 60 minutes.
see what's
So
going on with Apple,
daily
see if it's
charts,
exciting
all of
or
a sudden you're
not.
risking significantly more to make significantly more than you are on a 5-minute chart.
All
That's
right,
okay.
so
if the risk is covered because you got that one-to-one kick,
okay.
let it
The
run.
S&P
You know,
closed
don't
up
be afraid to trail your swing traders.
1.85%.
Don't be afraid to trail someone.
The
up there.
Nasdaq
We could talk about, you know, Microsoft.
7%.
Microsoft had a
Seven,
beautiful
it's
weekly trend. You can be in
363.
Microsoft
We're
still
down
from
here after hours
could have had a
too.
5-year
So
trade.
actually, we closed much higher than that. We're
2014
seeing
or
we're down 7 cents
2015
after hours
when
and
its upturn
twos.
on the weekly chart started
all
until
the
just
same.
very recently last month
Monster
when it
day.
broke out.
IWM,
So,
2.7%.
new
You
high.
have got to be kidding
This is
me.
a pivot
Almost
low.
a 3% up
That
day
even leads to a new high
for the Russell.
and then you would have gotten stopped
Sick.
out on this day.
really impressive.
Rule number 2 tells me, even though I have a potential little pivot low,
the victory lap that I did not take in yesterday's afternoon meeting
also,
because I felt like I was right, but I was in the wrong names. You know what? I'm going to take the victory lap today. It's one of the best P&L days I've had in a long time, which was not the case. I was a little bit frustrated yesterday. The market went up so much, and I felt like my positions, a lot of them were not participating, and today I think it was the opposite. Had a couple good earnings calls on a couple names that I held reports that went in my favor between Penn and Palantir.
But that's why that rule
unlike yesterday where we had a big update for the S&P and the IWM was up as well, but it was up much less on a percentage basis, and it seemed like the S&P being up as much as it was, the rep was very poor, so there was a lot of stocks out there,
just to get across these
maybe even as high as like 50% of stocks were still negative yesterday, even with the S&P given that big move. So I was a little bit frustrated by that. And some of the names I wanted to run yesterday, like KRE, I was looking for KRE to run yesterday, the regional banks,
took over as CEO.
It just did not run. It did not participate. It
broke out of its consolidation.
Today we got the TLT move that we were looking for. Bring up the bigger charts here. We got the TLT move that we were looking for above 85, and it did it with a
in 2015.
A really big gap.
Basically,
help boost the highs and higher lows, boost the banks, which is what we're looking for. Massive day. Bank of America, 4.5%.
Maybe you get stopped out a little bit on this dip.
When's the last time you saw Bank of America 4.5% in a trading session? Not even on an earnings report.
On this pivot,
just on a
continuation,
just on a regular trading session,
all the way until the
that is
that's when you get stopped.
Massive move.
And again, it's just highlights.
JP Morgan up
1.8%, not quite $50 in 2016,
and then on our KRE ETF, $40, $5.7%,
15.
Really big move.
Are you buying Microsoft?
Bill Gross came
maybe
out
it's even starting as a day trade. Are you buying Microsoft at $40, expecting that it's going to 190 with your trade? Probably not. Maybe you found a spot to get in on one of these days where you risked 15 cents. Very reasonable.
Specifically,
there's 15 cents on a day trade, closed really well. It fits my parameters for a swing, and I keep it overnight.
DraftKings just came out. DraftKings another big winner here after hours. It looks like DraftKings up 16% right now.
And what started as 15 cents of risk on a $40 stock.
They're seeing their fiscal year revenue $3.67 billion
in your favor,
$3.72 billion.
And eventually,
much higher.
Stopped out. The one thing about trailing that you got to keep in mind also is you're never going to exit your position with your P&L on highs, because you're always willing to give back some to make more, and you don't know how long that can last for.
So
you're at highs here at 190.
Better than expected.
If you were trailing still, maybe your stop loss is down here at 156 or 160, something like that. You finally get stopped out. You still gave it back $30.
Monthly unique
payers.
payers.
You gave it back $30 for the potential to make
users
number. Who knows how much more?
Also,
coronavirus, never came about. Microsoft is obviously
revenue,
great company.
Great job here for DraftKings after hours.
Okay, so those are my rules for trailing. Again, just real quick, my name is Derrick Oldensmith. This is my email. Feel free to reach out to me.
If you're interested in becoming a prop trader with T3 Trading Group, click the link in the video description.
Josh, the Q's dropped 80 cents after hours. I don't know what's causing that. It's FTN.
All right, guys, let's do this.
Just jitters.
All right, cool.
Can't get jitters in Apple. Apple's like trading up from where we closed.
Market week today, SPY's down 1.8%. It's really not that big. It's big, but it's not that big compared to what we're experiencing in the down move. I mean, how many days in the way down? I, in my entire career, have never seen the market go limit down until late February, early March. And we saw it happen like 4 times, where the market's down, 7%, 7.5%, something like that. And they halt the market for 15 minutes. I had never seen that happen until earlier. So earlier, late February and into March. So being down 1.5% or whatever I just said, 1.8% is not massive, but it felt like a victory for the Bears today, that's for sure. Q's, take a look here, Q's down 1.2%. I really do like to pay attention to that gamma stuff that Pat talks about, because that's when you know when that gamma flips to negative is when volatility picks up. I think it should be flipping to negative somewhere around here. So at some point soon, hopefully Pat has a more concrete update for us on that. But we got below these moving averages here on the daily chart of the SPYs. Let's take a close look at the Qs. So focusing on the SPYs recently. Yeah, Qs still look healthy as all hell, to be honest. Still within their ascending channel, their uptrend here, higher highs and higher lows. All they have done is pull back into the equilibrium area and then pivoted a little bit and closed off their lows. Qs still look healthy. SPYs do not look as healthy. Broke their moving averages really for the first time to the downside on the way up. I don't overly read into that. We haven't broken from an uptrend to a downtrend really yet at this point. Again, kind of going back, could say that we did, right? Because here is the last higher high, here is the last higher low, here's a little bit of a lower high, that's literally just from yesterday, and then today we got a little bit of a lower low. So you can say that the uptrend in the SPYs is broken. I wouldn't necessarily call it a downtrend yet, and I wouldn't necessarily say it's confirmed yet, because
which is cool.
Even though we ticked below this low, we didn't close below it, and
$10 downside extension to $9.
Yeah, we didn't close below support. We basically held that area.
It's a massive.
Did break 279 by a few cents. So I've been broadly looking at this area of support as the area between the 21 EMA and this pivot of 279.13. So we did clear all that by a little bit, but I wouldn't say it's totally confirmed yet. So we'll see what happens. It's 2 big down days in a row.
If this Apple report is decent,
could get a third, but I think it's more likely that maybe we get a rest day here, and we'll see how that kind of pans out.
So you're coming into today's trading session, you're definitely tough.
But on today's intraday price action,
is really what it comes down to.
Called it really well, I think.
I
kind of came onto the VTF this morning and basically stated that I was as bearish as I've been in a while, and I was really planning on laying the risk on today for the first time. And I kept talking about how I was trying to combine being aggressive and patient at the same time. Aggressive in attacking, because I really felt that this morning the flattish open to up open. When I was shorting stuff this morning, it was pre-market and the market was up at that point. I really felt that was a gift. I was really surprised that we weren't gapping down, because the price action we had gotten down to 283 or so after hours yesterday. Let me bring that up. This is how we closed at 8 p.m. at 283, and then our actual closing price is somewhere here, and then this morning pre-market I'm looking at us green, and I was like really surprised. But there was no real news that was bringing us up there that I could see, so I kind of just viewed it as a gift.
It was difficult to
late into my shorts, and it worked out really well. So I was right on the down move. I struggled a little bit in here with the market, just because we sold off a little bit pre-market to open a little bit negative. We had this initial momentum move, fine. We had this little 5-minute hammer candlestick. And what does this candle mean? This candle means correction, technical correction. Through price or time, usually the shape of this candle means price, especially when it's confirmed by volume. And the second bar of the day actually has higher volume than the first bar of the day. That's pretty rare. The first bar of the day, usually, you look at almost any trading session, the first bar and the last bar are going to have the most volume. And the main reason for that is because it's within the first and last bar that all of the opening and closing imbalances get settled. So it naturally creates a lot of volume on those bars. So whenever you can have candles that are higher than that bar, it's always something to take notice of. So you had 5-minute extension hammer on confirming volume on this chart. This is actually for guys that are really shorter term, you're a scalper trader or whatever, what have you.
Momentum trades.
If you'd like to learn more about
trading
trading,
specifically
click the link in the video description.
It's very
this is
hard
actually a great
buying
short-term long signal. I teach this trade.
But it was
also
like that
candlestick.
very difficult spot.
This is a great buy setup here. But what does it mean again?
And you just feel
it means that you should expect a price correction to equilibrium.
And especially
what is equilibrium? It's the space between the 8 and 20 EMA. That's how I view it.
So
it could just go directly to the 8, it could go through it, it could go to the 21, it could even pierce the 21 and then go lower. Eventually exactly what happened.
An extra boost to the growth stocks was the earnings report.
So when I saw that happen, it's like, okay, extension, price correction's coming.
Roku, massive upside move.
I thought that this could be the pivot right here. That this market might be so weak today that we don't even get a full price correction off of this candle all the way back to the 80 EMA. Maybe we just bounce to here, pivot, and then immediately go lower, and this is like a bear flag. This 80 EMA catches up a little bit, and it goes. Not what happened.
More with the
we moved up higher again. We got into this equilibrium area, and it's like, okay, you know, if I wanted to be really aggressive and the market was going to be really aggressive and bearish, it probably could have gone already. But this is what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to get back in this area and then pivot. And then it kind of gave you this little 5-minute candle here. Okay, maybe that's the pivot. So I'm like, all right, this is going to be it. You know, we corrected a little bit deeper. This is going to be it. And now we're going to go. Still yeah, it started to pull back, but it wasn't the real rollover. And once we had this candle come in here to go higher,
treasury move, the technicals,
I was like, okay, this time of the day, you know, we're getting towards 10:30 now, 10:25. I know that that's when the 15-minute chart starts mattering more than the 5-minute chart. It's just a general rule. 15-minute kind of starts to take over around 10:30.
It's very likely that
I also know that every single time, we were remarking about this in the chat here, every single time over the course of the last 3-4 weeks, whatever it's been now, that the market has started to look bearish. What has ended up happening is that there's been no downside follow through. And we've ended up turning into a sideways grind for most of the rest of the day, and then we roll over into the close. So I was excited here for continuation. I was excited here for continuation. And here I knew that we could get continuation again because the 15-minute is what starts to matter.
Pretty much it.
But I honestly was losing my conviction a little bit in this area.
So I don't really have time.
Started looking at the 15-minute. So here's your 15-minute. Got the price correction to that equilibrium area. And then you get your shooting star candle into that equilibrium on a little bit of confirming volume. So I was like, okay, I saw that, and I was like, all right, well, then I didn't regain like my exuberance on the short side by any means, but I was like, all right, well, that's a good sign. That is what I'm looking for. So maybe we do end up peaking here. And I still didn't at this point think that we would end up rolling all the way over to 280. I felt that if the market was really going to die, it would have done it more aggressively earlier on in the day. But that 15-minute chart ended up working perfectly. You know, I did call out this little 15-minute shooting star that came in. I really didn't have a ton of conviction behind it, but I was like, you know, you can definitely put some shorts on this candle versus this high. And again, I didn't have a ton of conviction on it, but it ended up being perfect. Worked out perfectly. 15-minute chart. You know, if you look at this 15-minute chart, instead of only looking at today more microscopically, if you look at it in conjunction with yesterday, it makes a lot more sense. You know, we sold off hard the last 15 minutes of the day, last 20 minutes of the day yesterday. That had a continuation on our opening candle, extended here, inside 5 and up, sorry, inside 15 and up, back to equilibrium. That's where you get your pivot, that's where you get continuation. And then when we got all the way down to the support level, the market really battled here. The market really battled and tried to hold this support multiple times. You know, got down there, a little bit of extension bounce, try to make a higher low and bounce, try to hold the area again and bounce, you know, multiple times here. And then this last time here, they probably screwed some people over. The folks that were, and again, that's bullish, by the way. If they screw over the bulls, that's bullish. How do they screw over the bulls? Well, anybody who was long and is like, all right, well, my uptrend's still intact, I'm staying long versus the high or low on the bigger picture, or anyone who is a day trader and was like, all right, market's coming down to this bigger important support area, I'm buying, and maybe you're making money in this range or whatever, you probably got pushed out here, right? Because it broke that pivot low on the daily. It really, even broke 279, like I said earlier.
Quick initial uptick, coming back down. Hopefully that fixed the echo on YouTube. There's secondary uptick. Where am I offered in this thing? Ugh, I was offered just above that high. Ugh. I didn't get filled by a very, very small amount at that high. Apple EPS $1.46 versus estimates of $1.39. Revenues beat by a very little bit. 89.5 billion versus 89.28. Apple trading down now, flat to down. Bill here giving us Q4 Mac revenue misses. iPhone revenue, that's an important one. Very small beat. I'm skipping down to the Greater China revenue because there's been a lot of talk about that. That's a miss by almost 2 billion. 15.08 billion versus an estimate of 17.01 billion. So that's been a concern. But they still performed with the overall iPhone revenue. Products is a small miss. Wearables is a little miss. iPad's a beat. EPS beats, revenue beats, service revenue beats. I'm so annoyed I didn't get filled up there by 9 cents at the high. Now we might be seeing if I get filled on the bid. I'm still a few bucks away. I mean, the report seems fine. Have we seen any guidance? I think they guide on the call, usually. The call's probably 5 o'clock. Apple traders mentioned the revenue number not coming in as expected. Traders were previously talking about over 90 billion expected on news media. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I was wondering what was hitting this thing back down because the initial report there seems good. So I guess there's a whisper number of over $90 billion in the revenue because we beat the actual estimate. I think that Greater China number is important too. It's a big talk right now. And if they're losing share to Huawei or whatever on their phones. Yeah. So I assume for guidance we've got to wait for the call, which will be at 5 o'clock. Let's take a look at this tape. Take a look at this price action. 174 selling right now on the offer. Selling heavily on Arca and NASDAQ. Broke. Put enough pressure on it to break it. Let's see if the seller comes back in or if they're able to lift the stock further. I like to share my level 2 on these days, but I have a position and it would show my position size, so I can't. No real test of 175 on the break of that 174. 174 seller. So they're not killing this thing. Thanks, Mike. I had eyeballed the measured move down to like 171.25 on the downside and 184 on the upside. So like I said, I want to sell a little bit in front of that, so I was trying to sell in front of what, like at 182-ish. Pre-market high was 181.90. Let's see here. See this test of 175, right through it, sliced right through it. There was no selling at all on 175. This is probably not the most exciting after hours mover, right? At least not yet. But it's the one that moves the market. So where are the Qs now? Qs have come down a good bit from where we closed. I really want this Apple up to extend this market further. Also because I'm long, but I'm long very small. I see your question, Chris, and Tate saying here in retrospect was being more scared of Apple reported over the Fed the correct thesis. I mean, yes, we ripped on the Fed. Apple just isn't doing anything. Apple could still get destroyed if there's bad guidance. So I think so. Chris K sneaking in a question, which we can field, and as we keep an eye on Apple here, because Apple's still in range. I haven't gotten filled on any bids. I haven't gotten filled on any offers here after hours. Chris K saying, I tried a few inside 5 setups this morning, Palantir short, PayPal short, and then a firm long. I got stopped out of all 3 of them. Do you think it's a better idea to just try one trade, especially off the open, one at a time, or try multiple trades if they are in your game plan playbook regardless, and just chalk it up to a day of 3 losers on all 3 trades? So if it's, I say take the trades no matter what, as long as you're not violating your overall risk parameters. So you want to make sure that if all 3 trades fail and you're taking all 3 at the same time, that that you're not going to end up being down by more than yes, the service number was a beat. More than your maximum loss for the day. Otherwise it's fine. And the other thing I would just note real quick about inside 5s, and maybe we can do a more detailed answer to this question on an afternoon meeting next week. Inside 5s are an execution strategy for when you like other things. You gotta like the other things. They're really meant for being with momentum and being with trend. So, I mean, I just see here that you're saying, that you were trying Palantir short and PayPal short. Maybe you were trying them in the beginning of the day when, PayPal I really didn't look at too much during the day. But maybe you were trying these early on because of the extension or something like that. But, the general move like we were talking about yesterday when it comes to earnings names is to trade them in the direction that they're moving. And I guess you could make the argument that PayPal's initial movement was down, but it was just a snapback to the ADMA. It's not necessarily unhealthy before it worked its way back up. So I don't, speaking very broadly without knowing the specifics of what you were trying to do or where you tried to execute, I think that you were taking an inside 5 for the sake of taking an inside 5 without, really monitoring what the big picture is. I promise if you take every inside bar as a trade, that you will lose money in the long run. You have to be selective with those trades for when you really like the setup based on other things, and then they can be a good execution setup for the things that you like otherwise. Yeah, services revenue strong for Apple, and services revenue is becoming increasingly important. Gotcha. Apple's still stuck in this 175 area. Bill giving us the link for the conference call. I assume that the conference call is at 5 o'clock. Yes, it is. I unfortunately can't stick around for too long today. I'm in this wedding party, and I just realized I haven't picked up my tux that I'm renting for the wedding party, and I need to do that. Got to get over to Men's Warehouse today. Which I don't understand how Men's Warehouse is still around. I remember when they went bankrupt during COVID. I used to trade the stock. Apple just made an inside 5 here on that last bar. Pretty tight inside 5, considering that it's earnings. Just $1.50 range on the second 5-minute bar of the day. Second 5-minute bar post the report. Yeah, I know. I remember thinking that when Men's Warehouse went out of business. I was like, where do people get these things then? Carvana slowly drifting back down. Yeah. Surprises Carvana. What's Square doing? Square still continuing. This FTNT is brutal. Net down a bit. Expedia looks great. Apple boring. Maybe I do miss the days of Apple, Amazon, Google like all being on the same day. That was hectic though. All right, well, I think we're gonna have to wait for the call to see if that moves Apple further. So far, a little bit of weakness on a okay earnings report. Beat on EPS, beat on Rev. The China number being a miss, I think, is important. We'll see also if we get any sort of new buyback information or dividend information. I'm not sure if that's expected at all on this call. All right, then. Well, I think I'm just going to wrap things up from Dave. If you had to flip a coin, do you think these numbers at 5... Do you think these numbers move the market lower or higher by closing time tomorrow? Lower. If you're asking me to guess, I'm going to guess lower. 1, we're trading down now. 2, we've consistently seen mediocre earnings reports get sold in this earnings season, and this Apple could just be the next one of those. And it's such a big market cap, and the market itself is already extended at this point, that a pullback here would make sense in general. That changes, obviously, if they say something really solid in the conference call that rips the stock up, which is what I would prefer. I would love a gap up tomorrow, honestly, to short. Yeah. And we got non-farm payrolls tomorrow. And we got the Hezbollah speech, I think, at 9 o'clock. That I've seen a couple people chatter could be market moving. Yeah, but non-farm payroll should be market moving for sure. All right, so we'll see if anything happens with this Apple post 5 o'clock. I just got a bunch of things to do. I might be having a late night tonight, so I don't know. Josh, where are you? I hope you're feeling good tomorrow. The team may need you. So I might have a late one, but it wouldn't be the first time I had a late night and then was still there for the meeting. Josh, I was offered 10 cents above that high. I had 9 cents above highs. to dump more than half of my current position. But, oh well, maybe it still gets up there. Have a great night, everybody. Have a good night, everybody.